pleased with that. My name's Allison Friesselhoff. I'm the Museum Executive Director here, and I thank you all for coming out on what looks like a gorgeous day. And I want to introduce Lou Lopez, who is the head of West, who's putting on this production. He's going to tell you a little bit about West and then set the stage. So,
It's an honor to be here. Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Again, my name is Lou Lopez. I am the head of West, Western Educators, Shooters, and Troopers. This was a group that started, for some of you who know Colton, they had a Boom Town, which was a retail store right off the 10 freeway. And they used to do gunfighting and frontier days over there until the place was torn down. And then became the anniversary of the Spanish-American War, and we portrayed the Rough Riders of the Spanish-American War. This is where I got involved with Group West, because habla español, so I figure I can stand up on the hill and say a few words to those Americanos charging up the hills. But as it turned out, most of the Spanish troops were from Northern California, and the Rough Riders were here from Southern California. So I became a Cubano and took out the history of Cubanos in the Spanish-American War. Then, as it came out, I ended up meeting some folks at the Pio Pico State Park over in Whittier, off the 605 freeway in Whittier Boulevard. And one of the docents from this Adobe here kind of mentioned, gee, you look like Alvarado. And she showed me the portrait of Alvarado, and I then started portraying Juan Melistas Alvarado of Monterey. Now, of course, when you're in Monterey, you're in Northern California, and his political rivals were the Pico brothers from Los Angeles. So now you know where the conflict between Northern and Southern California started with Alvarado and the Pico brothers. Then, of course, after doing some California history, I ended up doing some fundraisers for Center for Individual Development, which is basically a center in San Bernardino that caters to those who need special handling, special needs. And they had what was known as Harvest Fair, and such Frontier Town came back. And so, guess what? West made his turn, came back to Frontier. Then I said, well, we have Frontier, we have Spanish American, we have California, let's do something different. So a couple of years ago, I did what was known as a timeline. And that's what we're going to do right now. So, if you've seen history, you read the book, you see something two-dimensional. Welcome to West's California Living History Timeline. Good afternoon, folks, again. My name is Dominguez, and welcome to my humble Adobe. I'd like to discuss with you some of my thoughts about history. I'm sure as a youngster you want to know, Dad, where did I come from? Who's my relatives? I found out that some of the families, the history goes back into Mexico. Pancho Villa. What would you say if you had an uncle that rode with Pancho Villa? What would you say if you knew Mr. Banning, who owned the railroad, with all these trains that happened to be going by? What happened to, say, Palos Verdes Estate, where all those nice houses are located? Do you have relatives there? What relatives do you have from Europe? Well, let's start off with California history. And of course, who were the first ones that, officially by history, came to California? Our Spanish explorer, Senor. Our explorer here will just talk to you a little bit about himself. Senor, please introduce yourself.
My name is Juan Diego. I came from Spain. I was on an expedition with one of the greatest generals that ever came to this country. I bounced around in different expeditions and finally found my way here to the golden land of California. What you see what I'm wearing is typical of my my clothes that we wore back in the 1500s, all the way to the 1600s. We wore these helmets purposely made in this fashion to deflect arrows, rocks, spears. This is called a peacock. This is purposely made like this so that in the process when we were being fired upon, the arrows would deflect. The same with our helmets. In Europe at this time, they were still having jousting and still fighting on horseback with full armor. But when it came to the New World, the weather was different. It was much more normal. So we had to discard a lot of it. And what you see is what they call quarter armor, or half armor. And this is basically what the Spaniards would have worn, the Portuguese as well, when they were doing their conquesting. When we went to South America, it got even worse for us. We had to, the climate being sweaty and hot, we had to discard even more. But the one thing we never lost was our will to survive. And even though we were resistant strongly, many people believe that the Indians gave up quickly and easily. It's not true. We paid with blood. You know, we were set out by the King, His Majesty, George V, to find gold, land, to pay for the wars in Europe. And we did exactly that. And in the process, many of my comrades died. And we came here with other reasons too. We brought along clergymen to come and teach the Indians the true faith, because we believed it, and that faith was spread throughout this area, throughout in the Caribbean, in Cuba, in New Spain, which is Mexico. That was Mexico was the place that we really found most of the gold and the jewels that we really needed badly to support the wars in Europe. And in doing so, a lot of us became very wealthy. Not as wealthy as Hernan Cortez or Alvarado or Lopez and the other generals that actually led the campaigns. But we did very well. We were able to send money back to our country, to Spain, or go back ourselves and treat our wives and to the luxuries that we felt that they deserved. Because the Spanish were very arrogant people. They believed they were superior. Like the most conquering people, they think they're better. And so it was a natural instinct for us to treat ourselves and our countrymen, and especially our ladies, to the best that the world had to offer.
Thank you very much, Senor. So, of course, with the explorers, as he mentioned, it was changing the customs of the natives that were here. And, of course, one of the things, as he mentioned, the true religion. And we just happen to have a friar on his way from San Juan Capistrano on his way to the mission over here at San Gabriel. Sorry, he told me that he had a vow of silence, so he would not speak. Friar, would you please at least give the crowd your blessing? I appreciate it very much. Excuse me. Thank you very much. Please enjoy your trip. So how many of you have been to the missions? Of course, you know. We're stuck right here, a little bit in between the San Gabriel mission and, of course, Capistrano. And then the ones that we got going up a little bit north is the San Fernando mission. So, now, of course, a little bit after that, we're going to talk about how Mexico all of a sudden decided it's had enough of Spain. So it's kind of, well, we don't need Spain to handle our affairs because they're across the ocean. So let's declare our independence from Spain, and hopefully, you know.
Hey! What I mean, you are leaving out one of the more insignificant parts of the California timeline.
What California timeline are we talking about there, sir?
I, sir, am Captain Hippolyte Bouchard. I sail for Argentina, fighting Spain for our independence. I have circumnavigated the globe. That means something. And I'm now going to be raiding along the coast of California. I am going to destabilize the Spanish government here so that